reaction to One D&D. Hell, in this video, we will look at the next edition of Dungeons and Dragons, and I shall give my honest opinion and point out some major issues. Dwarven wisdom and Ray. For a while, there's been a lot of talk of when the next edition of Dungeons and Dragons is coming out. Now we know that it will be in 2024. The new edition is currently being called One D&D. This is supposed to be the last edition. They are following what Castles and Crusades did almost 20 years ago, which is to not create new editions, but maybe printings. What that means is that the game has not really changed. They just make minor tweaks here and there. So it is completely backwards compatible. I highly recommend Castles and Crusades. No editions, as I said, but maybe different printings. Also, they said this will make the game backwards compatible. We will see. Unfortunately, the way Wizards of the Coast make changes, it makes it harder to be backwards compatible because they just keep giving or improving abilities for the players, not really caring about the monsters. Thus, the players will become so powerful that in order to play in older editions, you will have to do some major changes to the monsters, even to make it challenging. A few of the changes coming are a new rules on inspiration. Supposedly, inspiration will play more of a role in the game. Rolls of 20 or 1 will affect more than combat, which in most cases, Dungeon Masters already do this. The Dungeon Masters cannot do criticals, meaning that the NPCs or monsters cannot do criticals to the players. That is completely foolish. The Dungeon Masters should do criticals. Again, we come back to one of the major flaws of 5e, which is think of only the players. Backgrounds have been redone and are more important, and also you can custom your backgrounds more. Races will not have racial characteristics. Therefore, belonging to a particular race is just fluff. It's just a new paint. Nothing else. Again, very, very foolish. You will be getting feats at first level. Again, you don't have to earn anything. You automatically get it. Feats will have levels. Now, I do think this is a good idea. Spells will be split into 3 classes: Primal, Divine, and Arcane. I like this also. The Arlene, the Celestial Animal People, will be a new race that will be introduced. In essence, they're somewhat the opposite of the Tiefling. Orcs will now be a playable race. Again, somewhat foolish. I mean, yes, any race should be playable. But orcs are evil. Still, many people nowadays do not understand that for a fantasy game, you need to have evil in the game. And some of the races or species have to be evil. That way you can be the hero. Again, a foolish concept. Also, there's now no official half races. Again, moving away from what Dungeons and Dragons was. The virtual tabletop. Well, it'll be a single platform where if you buy an adventure, you get basically the online version. And you can customize the maps. Also, you can create your own miniatures for the virtual tabletop. You can play the new rule set right now as a test player, and the new rules are in Dungeons and Dragons Beyond. Then you will receive questionnaires and can give feedback on the proposed changes. Now, I see several glaring problems. First, they do not talk about addressing the problems that 5e currently has. They don't even mention them. Second, they act like the game is perfect, and therefore they are also. It is funny, in most videos that Dungeons and Dragons put out, they pat themselves on the back for doing such a great job, instead of themselves being humble and saying, hey, we need to fix this because we didn't do a good job, or we didn't thought about how this would work. No, they always have to pat themselves on the back for doing a good job. Huh? Foolish. Third, they still are following the strategy of appeasing few players by giving them shallow improvements instead of making a good game that appeals to the majority of D&D players and builds upon what made Dungeons and Dragons great. The 3D virtual tabletop, although pretty interesting, will make Dungeons and Dragons more like a video game. Thus, taking away what makes role-playing games great: the use of the imagination. Overall, they're following a foolish strategy, which is to appeal to a narrow base, instead of improving the game by fixing what is wrong with it. Do you agree or disagree? What do you think of One D&D? Share your wisdom in the comment section. But remember, be honorable, be respectful. If you like this video, subscribe, hammer that bell, share.